Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. So this is update number 34 of my HO scale layout. And I figured I'd try something new today since I haven't gotten a lot done on the layout since the last update. The only exception is the scene over there, which is my grain facility. I've been posting videos on that scene in particular, but nothing major has been happening, throughout. So I figured, instead of just doing like a typical layout update, I figured what I'd show you today is how I get things going here when I come down to the basement to run trains. I did one video like this before, but there's so much more going on now that I figured I'd do a new updated version of that. So let's get started. So basically, when I get down to my basement here, there are room lights that obviously have to be turned on. Those are all the hi-hats you see there in the ceiling. And then I just turn on all my screens. It's just a TV, and then these are just two computer monitors. And my computer is on the other side of the staircase. I'll show you real quick. And I just kind of leave that running because I don't need to turn that off. So it's basically just reflecting on the main screen, and I have it split so that it's reading all three panels, meaning 1, 2, and then obviously the same panel on the laptop. And then I have my little control device here, which I made out of wood and some double-sided tape, some really strong double-sided tape. So I stuck this on there with double-sided tape. And this is just like a regular tripod with a screw. Drilled a hole in there, put a little washer in there, and that's my mouse pad surface. A little wireless mic, a little wireless keyboard, cheap and easy. And the nice thing is that you can put this away. You can just tuck it away anywhere, and it's easy to pick up and bring wherever you want. It's light. So anyways, once I do that, the next step is to start turning my layout on. So in order to do that, what I have is I have Wemo switches, which are terrible, by the way. I don't recommend them. But we switched all our smart switches upstairs to TP-Link switches, which are much better. And I think some of them are Lutron. I think they make some too. But most of them are TP-Link, and we're much happier with those. So I took all the extra stuff that we had laying around and adapted it. So I can't set them off from my phone app right now because I'm using the phone, obviously, for the camera. But what I can do is just show you where the switches would be. So this one I just mounted here is basically like a wall switch, but it does have Wi-Fi, hooked up to the app. So for now, I'm just going to turn it on here. And what that does is it turns on all of the lighting and any power that goes to other devices like my gates. And, like there's some LEDs, for example, in the buildings and like back there. So all that power is coming from that switch. It's its own circuit or its own bus. Power for the switch here. Oh no, that's connected to the track power. So then once I have that figured out, then the other one, and this is really the reason why I put a remote switch on here, is because all my control panel and everything else, components that are basically here, are connected to this socket back here. So it's a little bit of a pain to reach in there and turn it and plug it in. So what I did is I got that Wemo switch right there. But the cool thing about these Wemo switches is that besides being able to turn them on remotely, you could also just touch the top here. And once it senses your finger, it turns everything on. So now I'm up and running. All my components are on. And, my command station's there, my booster's there, and all my turnout controllers and SE8Cs for the signaling, it's all there. So now that I have all of that going on, the next step is first is to ask permission from my wife to see if she doesn't need the laundry area, which is located in here, beyond the door. This door is a pocket door, so it just slides open like this. It goes into there. So this was a big a big compromise that we had to both agree on. Because originally the room was going to go way out here, and I would have had a lot less room to make this turn here. So we compromised on not only moving the wall back, because it was supposed to go up to this pole here, but also make this angled wall here so that I can make my turns a lot smoother and not have to do right angles. So anyways, once I get that permission, and I know that there's no laundry to be done, I closed the gate. So here's the main gate here. And basically the gate is the main level and the second level. The third level already has, its own gate, but I never opened that. It's pretty much permanent. And the reason I don't open it is because we can both fit under there without having to duck. I mean, I have to duck a little bit, but my wife can just walk through, and there's no problem. So if I ever need to open it to get like something big in there, I do have the ability to just pop it open if I need to, but I never do. So basically, the way the gate works is that since it's a very large gate and it's hinged off of this one part of the benchwork, the tendency is for it to sag, right? Like any gate. So what I do is I just take this tripod that I have laying around, and I use it just to take the weight off the long end. So all I got to do is just basically push down a little bit, and it releases it. And these are all my contacts for all the track that's here. When it closes, it makes contact with the actual bench work, and that's how you get the power over to here. But that all happens automatically, which is nice. So I close this. It just swings closed, and eventually there'll be a backdrop here as well. That'll slip into there. And then once you start getting closer here, I have these cleats, basically to get everything into place, and also these metal braces to make sure that it doesn't lift too much in case it warps a little bit or whatever. So this guarantees. Oh, and also I also have stop points to make sure it doesn't go beyond where it needs to go. So once I close this, it's a little noisy because the wood, it creates friction. But once I do this, I'm pretty much lined up. So this, the way I just align this is I have a latch here. It's just like one of these door latches. So I do that, and then there's a little play here, right? Only because this thing is not perfectly fitted to this other piece. So what I do is I take a little rail joiner, if I can find it. Here it is. Not a rail joiner, a rail tie. I cut one of the things off, like this little small piece of plastic there, and that's a perfect fit for this little space here. So once I get that in there, it pretty much lines everything up here. So I don't have to worry about playing with it. It just kind of does it automatically. So now it's not going anywhere. And then on this side, it does it automatically. So I don't have to worry about that either, right? So the main level is done. Now, the top level is a little different because the top level is attached through these three pillars here from the back to the main level. So it's never going to be perfect, but it's very close. So what I do is I just give it a little shove here to make sure it's making contact back there. And then on this side, this is the part that's tricky, because you can see that both this rail and that rail are out of alignment. Let me just get a little closer here so you can see it. And then so I had to figure out how to do that. Now what I came to realize, if you haven't seen my other videos on my gate, is that all I basically needed to do is just give a little push like this, and then that does it, right? So it's just a little bit of of push that way. So what I did in order to make it so that it would be perfect every time is that I put a linear actuator in here. You can see it right there. You see the piston, there's a motor, there's a piston, and that piston pushes on those plates right there, which in turn pushes this whole benchwork over. So I'll show you how that works. Once I hit the switch here, which is obviously attached to the actuator, it'll start pushing the pin out, and it'll then push the benchwork over. So you'll hear it and you'll see it moving at the same time, and you'll see it right here. And there it is. So that lines everything up. And it's been like this for probably 2 years now, maybe a little more. And it's been perfectly reliable every single time. The only time I have to adjust it slightly is when there's like a drastic change, like, you know, between winter and summer, and the wood moves a little bit. So then, but it's easy. All I got to do is, let's say this doesn't push back far enough. All I got to do is twist the actual, like this moves. I could just twist it back and forth, and it gives you a little fine tuning, so that, you know, you get a more perfect fit. So yeah, once again, if I release it, you see, and then once I bring it back up, and the nice thing is that the actuator can sense when it has reached the max point, so it turns it off by itself. In other words, this switch is not going to go anywhere because it knows it's at its max point, but it will go the other way. So if I go up, watch, it stops, so that's not doing anything anymore. But I like to keep it on neutral anyway, so I know I'm not putting any power on the motor. And that's basically it as far. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this side. And this, obviously, this all goes faster once, you know, if I'm not holding the camera and once everything is in place. So this side was not as reliable because it's the long end and it's, you know, there's more play here. So what I did is I just basically took a little piece of track and I cut a little, you know, section where I could just slide it in. And it's small enough so that, you know, it doesn't need to be powered. I don't need a feeder because every locomotive can make it past there, and it'll either get the power from the previous track or from the track above, beyond. So yeah, once I get those two rail joiners in, I'm good to go. And then the same thing is here. I have the piece right here for here, but this is for the yard, and it's like an industrial spur, so I'm not gonna bother with that. So now I'm pretty much good to go. You can see all the signals are up and running, right? Everything's turned on. And so when I hit that Wemo switch behind the wall here, it turns all of that on, obviously. And now I'm just ready to start running trains. So I'll take my throttle. And the first thing I got to do before I start moving anything is that I need to drink my beer first. And then once I'm done drinking my beer, here on my laptop, I have my cat's icon up there. So I just launched that. And then it's going to ask me if I want to configure profile my JMRI railroad. Yes. So you just hit OK. And now the next thing that pops up is JMRI, because obviously CATS runs off of JMRI. I have a route table already set up here. And then this is the power and the Y throttle. So what I do is I just turn the layout on from here. So now everything's on. Power's on the track and everything. And then the next thing is I have to launch my actual panel. So I go up here to this display. I hit open. And then I have to search for my panel, which is this one right here. That's not really important, but once I get my panel up, what I do is I click on my little button here that my buddy and I figured out how to do. So my buddy Tom did this so that when I hit, so let me just show you this real quick. If you look at the panel by itself, see there's no detection anywhere. Everything's white, which means that, you know, nothing's being detected. But by calling up this window, which is the main window, by the way, the main CATS window, and you click on this button that says startup detection, which again was added, that doesn't come with CATS. Once I hit that, what happens is all the detection shows up. So it's basically what it's doing is it's turning off all of the BDL 164s, like all my block detection panel devices, and then turning them back on again. So for like a split second, and that kind of wakes everything up. So it shows you where the blocks are being occupied. So once I'm here, then all I got to do is select the train. Oh, one thing that I do also, I don't do it every time because I don't need it every time, but if you notice, I set it so that it automatically opens up my yard panel here, which, by the way, this is a Panel Pro panel. It's not CATS. So CATS is up here. but you could also run JMRI Panel Pro at the same time within the same layout. So, this is all the same stuff. It's just using two different systems. And then what I do here is, remember I showed you that route window that automatically pops up? I have a classification yard reset. So when I hit this button that says set, it basically resets all of my classification yards. So watch what happens. And you can hear some of the tortoises moving because they weren't set the right way from my last session. But now you can see there's an actual direction shown within. And I try to default it to, the bottom track here, which I call track 5, because that's kind of like the runaround. And then also my arrival departure, which is the one I use the most. I just kind of keep it on there. And then obviously if I need to use it for, trains coming in from the main line, I just, I switch it there. And I switch it here. And one of the reasons why I love using JMRI, which I've mentioned in the past, is that Panel Pro, it does really well with double slip switches like this, because it makes it very, very easy to see where you're going, rather than trying to guess at it by looking at the rails and whatever. So the other cool thing that happens is that I have my software set up so that it automatically turns on what's called a web server, if you don't know what that is from JMRI. And what that does, it basically allows you to access this panel, in this case, from any other device that has Wi-Fi and is connected to the same network. So what I do basically is I have it set up so that now when I go to my iPad here and I run my Y throttle, it's going to look for the actual network that I have set up. In this case, it's called Rhythm Railroad. I'm not really sure why it says 2, 3, and sometimes it even shows up like 17 of them, but most of the times it's just the regular Rhythm Railroad. And you see that this extra icon pops up, which says web server. So once I hit the web server icon, then it takes me to the website where all my panels would be listed. In this case, I only have that one. So once I hit that, it'll boot it up onto the iPad, and now I have access to switching any turnouts. You can hear them going from here. So I'll reset this one, which I moved before, and these two as well. Now I'm not going to be using this right now for this demonstration, but that's basically what I do. It's real fast to get this going, and then I just leave it there, and it stays there until I turn off the CATS program. Then it basically wipes everything out. So going back to where I usually hang out, which is here. Now all I have to do is turn on my TCS UWT 100, which I love, by the way. This is like it's a Wi-Fi throttle that's universal. So you just hit any button to get it going, to boot it up. You just hold it. Then once you see the main screen pop up, it says press 2 to start. And once I hit that, it'll start looking for the last network that I connected to. So you see how it says connected to Rhythm Railroad. That's the one I'm using, which is the same one that I used there, which is the same one that I'm using here. So anybody coming in here for a session would hook up to that network, and it's dedicated just to the layout. So it's not talking to the rest of the house and whatever other things I might have attached to the house, cameras and switches and door locks and things like that. So in this case, I have it set up so that I can swap between two different locomotives or two different consists. So right now this is set up for my CSX 911. Oh, by the way, the nice thing about this also is that when you connect to JMRI through that network that I just showed you, it also pulls up the roster. So that's why it says CSX 911, because it's recognizing it from the roster. If I hit swap, which is this button here, it switches over to the other consist, which is the CN 3045, which I believe, I actually have to check. I think it's my tank train. And if it is, yes, this is my CN 3045, which also has a CSX engine attached to it. You see how it says plus CSX Now, obviously, it doesn't fit in the screen. So if you want to see what it says there, all you got to do is hit menu. You hit consistent, which is 3, and then you hit 2 for view current consist. And now it tells you have 3045 running forward, and then 3251 CSX running reverse, which is this one here, 3251. So that's in case I want to like look deeper into it. And sometimes you can have like whatever. Let's say you have 5 locomotives there, you'll see them all listed. So I'll just escape, go back to my main screen. There it is. And then obviously all I got to do now is hit the function button. So here's my sound, my startup sequence. Here's my headlights. And 6 is for ditch lights. There you go. These aren't very strong, but they're on. And then once everything gets up and running, it's my horn, there's my bell. The horn is attached to the bell, like most locomotives, most modern locomotives. And then this works kind of like the NCE throttle, which has got the wheel in the middle and it's got the step up and down. The only thing you have to be careful with this is that if you're using the swap option where you can switch back and forth between the 2 trains, you don't want to use these because it'll react in 10 step intervals. I think that's what it is. Let me just check. Yeah, see, it goes right to 10. And this one, I think, same thing. Yeah, it goes to 10. So if you're okay with that, fine. But if you want to start off slowly, then obviously you use the wheel and get things going. So right now, I'm actually glad I have this tank train running because I just finished installing all of the resistors to every single car, and I put one on either side of the car. So there's one here and then one there for every single car. So I have full detection now. I tested it before. Everything's working beautifully. So what you do now, if you're dispatching, is that you go ahead and find where that train is, which in this case is Saratoga Springs. And I am on the siding. I am on the siding. No, sorry, I'm on the main line. So, I think, pretty sure. Yes. I'm on the main line, I think. So, the main line is this one up here. So what I'm going to do is right click, I get this option window, and then I'm going to hit position train, accept, and then it gives me a list of all the trains that I have on the layout currently. So here it is, my RT45 tank train, which is coming from the locomotive engine, which is 3045. So it's Rhythm Railroad, that's the R. T is for tank, and then 45 is the lead locomotive, last 2 numbers. So once I click on there and hit accept, then I get my locomotive up on the screen. So that tag is going to follow my detection all the way through. In this case, we're heading south, so we're going in this direction. So let me give myself some signals here, and I'll clear route. I'm going to go all the way down to staging. So it's going to go all the way down. Once I get here, I have to go into the diverging route because that's where my inbound trains go. So I'll give myself a signal for that. And then I got to figure out what track I want to be in. So I guess I'll go into 2 over here. It's available. It's all white here. And I have green signals. So I'm going to line myself up and then give myself a signal for that, a signal for this, and a signal for that. And that'll take me all the way to basically the beginning or the outbound point of my staging. So now, generally speaking, I would go ahead and label all the other trains as well. But for right now, I'm not going to do that. It's just time consuming. And if I was running a session, I would do that first. So then I'm just going to take my throttle and go ahead and see if I have a clear signal. Which I do. It's green. And I'm going to go ahead and crank this baby up. And then once I get rolling here, then it's just enjoying the layout. So I guess I'll take you through while I'm heading down. Not too much has happened here, as I said. I am waiting to see if I can finish ballasting this, because I started and I got all of this done all the way up to right there, and then I ran out of ballast, and I haven't been able to get ballast, but well, I haven't been able to get ballast from my local hobby store, because they're I don't know what their problem is, but I just ordered it myself and I canceled that, and it's coming tomorrow. It's very easy to find. I don't understand why they can't find it. But here is my mountain scene on my peninsula. I'm just going to go a little faster here so that I can make this video a little shorter. And then I have, here's where the levels actually split. My helix is inside this top part that goes up to the third level up there. So it's just two cycles before it spits out on the other side, and it comes out through here. But I have a crossing here, obviously, which I forgot to do my horn sequence. And then you can see the two levels clearly here. And then as you go through, you can start seeing the three levels, which then open up. This is the tightest spot as far as like distance between levels, but this keeps climbing. So it does open up as you go. And the way I planned my layout was I made the bottom level the widest as far as bench work. And then as I go up, not only is there less distance between each level, right? So it's less distance here, but there's also less bench work. So it's kind of like tiered. And the reason I did that is because if you're standing here, for example, you can see this totally clear. You can pretty much see that, you know, without any problems. I didn't want the bench work to be way out here, and then you can't see what's actually in there. And then this is the one that needs the most depth, so I gave that the most distance, so that it would you can see right into the whole scene. Because again, if you bring the bench work all the way out here, then you got to start, you know, ducking down to see all the way in the back of the layout. So that's why I did that. This is the scene I was talking about that I'm working on. Basically, it's this entire wing. It's going to be from the river all the way through to the grain facility, which is the main part of the scene here, and then over to the metal works over here, and then out to the signal here. So I still have my clear signal. There you go. So yeah, so everything's looking good. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here yet. Right now it's just acting as a table for all my stuff. But at least I have that, and you know, I'm not completely wrecking the layout. And this, by the way, is going to be a little tank facility. It's probably going to be oil, or maybe, I don't think it's going to be chemical. I think it's going to be more like crude oil. So I have my tanks waiting to be placed there. But I'm working on scenery back there, so that's why I'm not clogging this up just yet. And yeah, so then as we continue south, now it's going over the gate, which obviously is not a problem. You see nothing's derailing. So that's the little connection point there. And that's the other connection point there. The gaps do get bigger as winter, you know, creeps in, because the wood shrinks. So, you know, you'll see that these gaps, by December, there'll be like, you know, pretty far away, but it doesn't derail anywhere. You just hear a lot more clickety clack from the wheels. So yeah, so this is old news here. You know, you've seen these on my other videos. It ducks under here around Schenectady. And then it starts heading down toward my beer, and then beyond toward the lead over to where the staging yard is, which is down there. So that's basically it. That's how I get things going. It doesn't take long once you get used to it to start. So once I get down here, it takes maybe 5 minutes tops to get everything done. And obviously, it would be the reverse of that to pack it all in, which actually it goes faster when you're done, because it's just shutting everything down like quickly. You don't have to assign things, and you don't have to set up the iPad, or you just turn everything off. The only thing that's a little bit more time consuming is the gate, but it's just those 3 steps. And that is basically it. So I'm very happy with how things are working. I don't have any like major issues with any issues with derailments or track work being weird or whatever. Everything's pretty much staying put. Sometimes in the winter I'll get a kink here and there. I mean, I'm hoping I'm not going to get it this year because I feel like I got past that crucial time where things are still settling and things are moving and you still don't have some of the ballast down, which I don't, obviously in some places, but I think it'll be okay. And by the way, the staging down there is eventually going to be totally covered with a skirt, so you obviously need this monitor to see your train coming into track 2 there. You should see it sneaking in now. So track 1 would be this one, 2, 3, and then the outside one is 4. Obviously when it goes around the peninsula, comes back out, then this is track 1, 2, 3, and 4. So one thing I did add, which you might have seen on my previous video about cats and signaling, is that you can see here my detection is split into 2 parts here. So right now it's in the first part of the staging yard, which takes you through here, and then to the midway point, which is where you see those LEDs, which is right there. And those LEDs are actually programmed to detect, so that in other words, when I go into my next block, which you'll see in just a minute, as the locomotive comes through, once it crosses that LED will get knocked down to red. And the reason that's important is because you're going to see that, I'm going to just speed this up a little more, you're going to see that once the train makes it all the way into the track there, the red LED is going to allow for anybody running a train to see that you cannot go beyond that point. Right, so now I just knocked it down there. And it also shows it here, obviously. So now we're, there's a train, it made it onto the last segment. And now we're just waiting for it to show up. It's, it's coming around, it's coming around, you're gonna see it come around here, and then you'll see it pop back up over here on track 2. But going back to my other point, once I make it all the way around to here, then obviously I can stack another train behind that one, but just up to that red LED that just got knocked down, so that you don't go smashing into a train in front of it. So I tried to, design that originally when I started doing everything, to make sure that that I could stack trains, but still know exactly where my trains are. So you can see it, that the train's coming in now right there. And the red LED here is basically, the gap in the rail, which also is the fault point for the track. So if I go beyond that red signal, I'll get a short circuit if the switch is not lined up for that track. And also, if it sticks out that far, any trains coming in from the other tracks will probably rub up against it, especially if it's like an auto rack or something. So now that I'm there, all I got to do is turn my ditch lights off, turn my headlight off, and then kill the engine. So as that shuts down, one thing that I want to show you is that if I want to bring that train out again, it's on track 2 right now, so all I got to do is line myself up, and then once I give myself the green signals, oh, I got to line this up too. What happens here is that the LEDs reflect that. And I did that intentionally, where you have LEDs on either side of the track, so it's almost like a gate opening, so it's saying like go. Not prototypical, but whatever. But so that would be obviously, don't proceed, and then that's a clear indication. Now, I can't give myself a clear indication if the turnout is not lined up for me. So if I try to give myself a signal, what happens is, let me just back up here. If I try to give myself a clear signal on track 2 here, what I get is an error, right? Because it's telling you can't do that because you're not lined up. So the cool thing about cats also is that it tells you when you're doing something stupid. It it actually corrects you. And as you get into the program, you see that it does that for many reasons. But it avoids all kinds of problems. So, all right. So now that we're done with our little mini session, let me just show you how I pack things up. So basically, now that that we don't need the panel anymore, what I do is I go to this screen first, just to turn my power off. Right, so now I have no power to the track. And then I go to my main screen right here, and I close it. And when I close it, it'll ask me if I'm sure, and of course, yes I am. And that basically shuts down CATS and JMRI Panel Pro at the same time. So now I'm back to square one here, and then I just basically put this aside, this little pad thing, and I make sure I have enough swing space here for the gate. So then for the gate, I do the same thing that I did in the reverse order. So first I open up the alignment piston, and then I go ahead and take this track out. Just give it a little wiggle, pops out, and then I just take the spacer out and open up the latch. And that's it. Good to go. So now I just swing this open. It swings all the way around. And then once I hit the limit here, I take my tripod. I slip it under the lip here. And then basically just crank it up a tiny bit just so that it lifts. So it makes contact and it just barely lifts. Just that, that's all you need. So now it's supported there. And obviously then all I got to do is, use my phone to turn off the layout power, which is that Wemo that I showed you before, and also the layout lights. But again, because I'm using my phone for the camera, I can't do that right now. So I will show you how I do it manually once again. So I just basically touch that, shuts everything down there. And then I come around, well, I might as well turn these off. So I just turn that off. Turn this off, turn this off, and now I'm back to this button here, which turns the LEDs and other power off for the layout. So that's it. Everything is shut down. Easy as that. I mean, it would be cool if I could just get everything to be on one switch, but I kind of don't want that because if I want to work on the layout and I need the lights on, but not the actual power, I could do that because it's individual. So that's why I kind of like that. All right, so that's going to be the end of the video. So I will see you on update number 34. No, this is 34. I will see you at 35. All right, take care.